Good evening, parents. Welcome to this wonderful panel discussion, and it is brought to you by Online Parenting Summit and Brain Feed Magazine. And this panel discussion is going to be so insightful for all of you because the topic is so relevant and important, and it is about virtual learning or no learning. But before we get into the panel discussion, let us understand what Online Parenting Summit is all about.
Education breeds confidence. Confidence breeds hope. Hope breeds peace. As wisely said by Confucius, our reason to thrive is to make the world a finer place. We passionately believe in the power of education and parenting to change attitudes, life, and ultimately the future of the world, making it a finer and better place to live. We have come together to redefine parenting, to evolve into a better version of ourselves. Because it's not about resources, but about change. It's not about teaching, but about implementation. It's not about learning, but about a total transformation. It's not about surviving, but about thriving. Just one generation of right parenting can make our world better and finer and create multi generational impact. We are intentional about a finer world. We bring to you Online Parenting Summit 2021 to help the 21st century parents to parent forward with love, logic, and intent so that they can raise emotionally resilient children in an ever changing environment without experiencing the parent burnout. How can you contribute? You'll change the world with your wisdom by being our esteemed speaker and an agent of transformation to make this world a better and finer place. Associate with our cause by becoming a sponsor. Help us reach far and wide to spread the goodness and bring the awareness by sharing your inspiring stories. Follow our activities on your favorite social media handles. This would only be a dream without your support and contribution. A big thank you to you.
I once again welcome all of you to this wonderful panel discussion. I'm Sneha Tapadia, the co-founder of Online Parenting Summit. The theme for this year's Online Parenting Summit is to reduce your parent burnout. As parents, we are multitasking. We are doubling up as educators and we are managing various roles, managing our time, effort, and energy. This summit will help you to parent forward, to raise our 21st century children into emotionally resilient children with love, with logic and intent without you experiencing the burnout. And the most important burnout we are experiencing right now is sitting with our child in the online class and ensuring that the child learns virtually. So today's panel discussion is so enlightening and wonderful, and it's going to give you those takeaways will help you transit the child to virtual learning effectively. But before that, let me introduce you to our wonderful speakers. We have with us Dr. Savita. She is the CEO of Zings, an education consultancy firm having 25 years of experience in the field of teaching, training, counseling, and academic administration. She also served as the principal of Kautilya Vidyalaya, which is in Mysore, for 15 years. She's also the founder of the virtual school Little Sky for the foundational years. We welcome you, Savita.
Thank you.
The next speaker that we have with us is Harsha. Harsha Ramaya is the founder and director of Small Wonders. She is also the core committee member of ECA, that is the Early Childhood Association. She is the president of the Bhavnagar Preschool Association. She is also the founder of H2 Edu Associates. She's the founder of Parent Station, and she is a parent coach at First Cry. We welcome you, Harsha.
Thank you so much, Neha. Thank you.
And now we have with us Chandrasekhar. He serves as the CEO of Jain Group of Institutes and has over 18 years of experience in the space of education. He is a REX Karmavir Global Education Chain Champions Fellow 2019 and was ranked 7th in the Education World's ranking of 33 young stars of Indian education in the month of March 2017. He has also been a TEDx speaker and president, distinguished director of Toastmasters International. He's also the co-founder of Sumadhu Trust Envisioning a Rabies-Free India. We welcome you, Dr. Chandrasekhar.
Thank you very much and good evening to all of you.
And now we have with us Kesar Patel. She is an educationist having an experience of more than 20 years. She's a national award winner and a vivacious speaker. She's working as a principal at Ma Anmay Memorial School, Raiwala, Uttarakhand. She has authored Aptitude, a set of mental ability books. She's a teacher trainer and an innovator in education. We welcome you, Kesar.
Good evening and a COVID namaskar to all the audience present here.
So we have a panel which has so many years of experience, and today we're going to get enlightened with their experience. I'm so excited to head into this wonderful discussion with each one of you. So let's head into our topic, that is virtual learning or no learning. We totally understand that times have been very challenging for each one of us. As educationists, as parents, we have been doubling up with so many roles. There are tests which are happening online. There are sessions which are happening online. Parents have to keep monitoring whether the child is actually attending the session. For the preschoolers, the parents have to sit next to the child to ensure the child learns. This is becoming really challenging for parents because they are also working from home. They're doing a lot of other responsibilities from home. And with so many tasks at hand, at times, it becomes very overwhelming for the parents. And then there is this anxiety whether they're giving their best to each of these tasks. So the easiest way out right now is to just skip 1 year, right? Just not have learning at all. Because eventually they're early years and children can miss out on those years. So my question is to each one of you. What would you suggest to parents? Virtual learning or no learning? Let's start with Dr. Savita.
Thank you. Namaste, parents. Now, when we look at the COVID pandemic situation, the situation, all of us are at crossroads, whether to go for no learning or virtual learning. But I would say the early years are the most important years in one's life because 80% of the brain development in a person happens before the age of 8. And if the child is not provided the right kind of stimulation in these years, it's going to be a lot more damaging for the child. Not that you cannot give them any learning at home without the virtual learning at all. But then my question is, can any one of us predict that future is going to be normal like before? I doubt. It's not going to be like before. And this is the new normal. And people who wait for normalcy are really going to miss out on a lot and then finally end up rushing. Charles Darwin said, survival of the fittest. If he were to come back today, he would have changed and said survival of the most adaptable. And what is our national education policy telling us? The NEP 2020. Please mark this. It says technology will play an important role in the improvement of educational processes and outcomes in our country. And please remember, there is extensive research happening on emerging technology like, artificial intelligence, blockchains, machine learning. And please remember that there are no jobs for our children in future. They will have to create their own jobs. They will have to compete and then not just compete, learn to collaborate. So it's important that at the right stage in life, we teach them that change is the only constant in life and resisting change is most painful. People who accept change move on. It's going to be so smooth because we accept it. I keep resisting. I keep causing pain to myself. And we are, living in a technological era. And why are we shying away and waiting for what? And finally, if normalcy doesn't happen, your children will definitely have more anxiety and pressure. And more than children, you are going to start rushing, and then you carry the guilt. I would like to tell you that the results of our children's exams and results come during the end of the year, maybe after 2 months, 3 months. But the result of our parenting comes after 25 to 30 years, when our children are big enough, and the repair is the damage is irreparable. So I would say, please don't wait for anything, and don't deprive your children of the opportunity to become self-learners. I think the pandemic is going to change the way children are going to learn as much as the way teachers are going to teach. So let's join hands and join this virtual era and make things much better than what it was before. Thank you.
That's such a superb thought, Savita. The thing that you said, change is the only constant, and it is the survival of the fittest. So it is good that we adapt with the change and accept this new normal by joining hands. Wonderful, Savita. Dr. Chandrasekhar, what do you think?
Well, first of all, I agree with Dr. Savita on a couple of fronts when it comes to the current pandemic and the uncertainty we are all going through, and all the aspects of the future of learning and the future for children, what is in store. Coming to my perspective on virtual learning or no learning, I would address it in 3 parts. First of all, as Dr. Savita said, 85% of the brain development in a child happens below the age of 7. This is a known fact for all of us, especially in education. Now, pandemic or no pandemic, the child is growing, the child is evolving, and the brain development will not stop just because the world is on a pause button. So that's number 1 point as far as preschool is concerned, or pre-primary is concerned. The second and the most important thing, when we come up to the from early learners to primary level, that is grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think the real question there is, learning cannot stop, because it's like swimming. If you are in the center of a pool or an ocean and you stop swimming, you don't stay where you are, you start drowning. So by the time the children recover and come back to the school, whenever that happens, there is regression happening, if not for progression. So I think that's why you and we cannot afford to go for no learning or taking the easy way out, as you rightly said. The third part and the final part is for the students who are in the higher grade, that is grade 7 to 12 or 8 to 12, as we would like to call it. Now here, it's not just about learning. I mean, school is a place where you form your initial ideas for your future. Now, if you imagine that you're put in a solitary confinement for 1 or 2 years, that's what is happening with children, because they are in the house. And if you cut off that virtual connection, which is happening in the classroom or through online classes, then what happens is children will start looking at various things and believe that that's the future for them. Now, we don't know whether they're looking at the right thing or not so right thing. So I think even in that context, where it comes to socio-emotional aspects of teenagers and growth, we need to keep that connectivity and that network going. And my verdict would be that online learning or virtual learning is the requirement or the need of the hour. No learning is definitely not an option. Thank you.
I totally resonate with what you're saying, and we cannot afford to have regression set in children, and we cannot leave it up to chance as to what they're observing. That's such an important thing that you've got onto this discussion, that we cannot afford to have regression or no learning here at any cost. Harsha, what do you think?
So Sneha, here my take is the title itself is saying a lot, virtual learning or no learning, it suffices everything. Because if you're not doing virtual learning, that means no learning is happening. My fellow mates have already described that foundational years are so very important. and not only important for children but for parents as well, because many parents feel that 2 years, if a child is of 2 years, chalega agar ek saal school nahi jayega to. So and when they join hands with the school, when they become partners with the school and they start educating the children, they understand that what kind of development happens. So through virtual medium, I think, there is a very nice bridge that is being created, which reaches to the children, because the end beneficiary is the child. So in this, the parents are also educated. Earlier, for pre-pandemic, when we used to do activities in our preschool, there were many parents, who used to come and tell us that these play activities, what are the children going to learn, is just a waste of time. But when these activities they do at home, and when they see the development happening, now is that when they understand. So here, if you choose no learning, I think many things and many factors are at loss. So I believe that virtual learning, at least something, is better than nothing. Though there are hurdles, there are problems, because young children, to keep them sitting for a long time in front of the device, those challenges are there. But there are solutions to those challenges. But if we decide for no learning, there is a lot of loss that is going to happen when children are going to come back, because these children whom we've left pre-pandemic in the month of March 2020 are not the children who will be in school whenever the school shall resume. Because the schools, are not only a place where academics is offered. So through virtual platforms, even the schools are offering a lot than academics. So the parents have a way out of understanding that, okay, how to deal with my children, because a child who is 24/7 with the parents, even you can see the frustration when I talk to the parents, and when they, call me for counseling, I can read out the frustration in that talks, 24 ghanta bacha mein kya karu ma'am, because they have, as you mentioned, doubling the responsibilities, because we are also stacked with a lot of responsibilities. So if we have partnered with the school, at least we have a way out and we don't burn out on our parenting. So I will always vouch on virtual learning, because something is better than nothing, of course. Thank you, Sneha.
Harsha, that's a positive way of looking at the entire thing. The best part that you have got out of the entire conversation is the parent partnership. So earlier, parents were taking schools really for granted, and they undermined the efforts of teachers and the play in general in the life of the child. But now, with the child being with them for 24 hours, they've got closer to the school, partner with the school, and understand the importance of education in the child's life. And I so resonate with you, like each one of you is, we cannot afford to have no learning for children. Learning in some form is absolutely critical and important. Kesar, what is your thought on this topic?
Yes, Neha. So let me take the discussion a bit away from the, not exactly away. Yes, I'll be touching the topic of early childhood development, of course. United Nations has given us the 17 SDGs. All of us are aware about it. They are the sustainable development goals that we need to follow, because the decade from 2020 to 2030 has been described or defined as the decade of action. So these 17 SDGs that are given by the United Nations are actually the problem statements. Now, we need to find a solution for these problem statements. Considering all the panelists over here, I think we are midway in the journey of our life. So the real solutions have to come from the children studying in the schools, because the next 10 years are really going to be in their hands. Okay. Now, what happens with the early childhood development? Understand that if this is not taken care of, how do we see focused and developed children who will take care of the SDGs in the coming decade? The first goal given by the UN, that is no poverty, number 1. Number 2, zero hunger. Number 3, good health and well-being. Number 4, gender equality. Quality education. Number 5, gender equality. Each goal is progressive. Okay, the first most important problem that the world is faced is no poverty. We are faced with the problem of poverty. Now, what happens if the early childhood development is well taken care of properly? The development of the child is such that automatically when the child grows up 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 25 years of age, what happens? He is economically self-sufficient, So we get rid of no poverty. Automatically, if he is economically self-sufficient, obviously he's earning money so he can feed for himself, feed his family, also properly sustain and support others. So we get rid of zero hunger. He is educated, he is aware, his mental development has been done properly. As a result, the physical strength, the skill and the stamina is properly in place. So good health and mental well-being is well taken care of. He is studied, educated, because he is focused, he is concentrated, he is not lost somewhere in between, he has not lost the track. So quality education. So what is happening? If we take care of the child's education program at the early ages, which stands between 0 to 8 years of, actually prenatal, not only 0, it's prenatal, from the time that the child is conceived by the mother, he is there in the womb. From that time to 8 years of age, if we take care of the child's development in every way possible, we ensure that the SDGs are properly well laid out, established and followed, and the decade of action comes to a fruitful end at 2030. Hence, early childhood development is important. Investing in a good early childhood program is very important for the parents. Everything cannot be handled by the parents. We need the triangle wherein the child, the teacher, and the parent is there. This is, I will say, not an option. It should be mandatory. It is compulsory. It is important because we need to have a better world in our hands by the time we go and reach 2030. So yes, learning has to be there. If it is virtual, yes. Connect with the educators, connect with the school, understand what they are trying to do. Whatever points are being missed out by the school can be done by the parents at home. But definitely, I will vouch 100% that investing in an early childhood development program is important. Studying is important. We had parents who left last year and they did not let the child attend the school, saying that it's okay, it's just a waste of money, why to pay the fees? Online is online, nothing I can teach my child at home. They came to us in the month of February, requested for extra classes, got the classes done. The teachers took extra classes, gave the examination or some sort of assessment to be promoted to the next level. अरे भाई, अब कुछ लोगों ने गलती कर ली है, बाकी लोग सीख लो. नहीं चलेगा, बिना virtual learning के नहीं चलेगा. As Savita ma'am said, as Dr. Chandra said, as Harsha said, see, this is the new normal, accept it. Don't wait के पानी उतर जाएगा और फिर हम चल के बाहर जाएंगे. नहीं, नदी का पानी जो है सर के ऊपर बह रहा है, आपको तैर कर ही पार करना पड़ेगा. आपको पैदल चलने के लिए आप रुक नहीं सकते, आप डूब जाएंगे. तो इस बात को समझिए. Online learning and virtual learning has to continue. That's it, Sneha. Thanks.
That is such a brilliant thought, and you've summarized the topic basically. It's so important for parents to know that you cannot take no action. We are just not talking about parent, but we're talking about the future better world. And just to ensure that we have that better future world, we cannot afford this generation not learning, because it is eventually going to impact the future. So having said this, and because all of us agree to this point that virtual learning is the way forward, we cannot have a zero learning year or no learning year. I want to ask this question to Chandrasekhar and to Savita. The question is, how do you think, now that we have established the fact that virtual learning is so critical and important for the better future of children and the world, how do you think virtual learning helps set routine in a child's life? Because the usual concern that parents have while enrolling for the virtual classroom program is it overlaps with my working hours. I cannot take out that amount of time to be with my child. It is child's routine. My routine is more important and critical. So just because they're unable to manage all this, the virtual learning is kept aside. So I really want both of you to throw light on how virtual routine or virtual classes can help set wonderful routines for children. So we'll start with Chandrasekhar. What do you think, Chandrasekhar?
Well, thank you very much for that question. And I think when we look at virtual learning, now that the fact is established that we cannot afford to have no learning or a gap year, virtual learning comes to us in two formats. First is synchronous learning, and the second one is asynchronous learning. Now, if I have to answer your question of how does it set in a routine for a family, whether you have a preschool child or a early years child or even a middle school and a high school child, I think it happens at two levels, as I said. One is that synchronous learning. I mean, as we know, all of us are going through some kind of an adjustment. It is not the comfort zone which we were used to. Now, when we know that it is an adjustment, obviously our routines also are adjusted. I mean, you look at the flip side. If you think that, okay, I have work to do, I have my own things to take care of, you also have extra time on your hand, which you were using to travel to your workplace, which you were doing, which was almost a necessary evil. And in cities like where we come from, or even some of those tier 2 cities, the traffic is horrible. So you spend almost 45 minutes to an hour just to go up and down, and now that is saved. And for all I know, every school, almost every school begins very early in the morning, around 8 or 8:30 or 9. And I don't think offices are so particular that people have to log in, unless of course you are in a different shift. People have to log in so early in the morning. That means you have that much freedom to plan your day. So coming to the point of synchronous learning, of course we need to make some adjustment, but that is very important. And what here happens is when the timetable is given away from the school and when the parents are embracing that, it sets in the routine. And needless to say, because the minute the student has to come in front of the camera or the screen, the student will prepare himself or herself, be it his own personal grooming or her own breakfast and other preparations, even homework or assignment, or being prepared to the class to be available to participate. All these things, again, needless to say, sets in a routine. The second thing, the good thing of virtual learning is it also gives ample and more gaps for students. I don't think any school is bringing in 6 hours to 8 hours of classes online. There are a lot of gaps where you spend 2 to 3 or maximum 5 hours, depending on the age of the child, online during the day. One thing which helps is when it comes to asynchronous learning, there are a lot of options where children can take a break, have their nap time in the afternoon, again come back, reconvene, and there they start their asynchronous learning, which is video lessons or looking at conceptual learning where the teacher is not ready. But that also sets in a kind of a routine. Like in the good old days, the student used to go to a tutorial, or the student used to go to a group study, or the student used to go and sit and do in a silent zone her own homework. All of that is taken care by the asynchronous learning. So I think if you look at it holistically, it not only brings in a routine to just children, it also adds value in terms of routine to the family at large. They can eat together, they can work together, and at the same time, they can grow together. This is my perspective.
I really love that thought. And this is such an important point, I think, which parents miss on, is you're saving upon your traveling time. So we're not accounting this time calculation anywhere, which otherwise we were investing on. And because we have saved this time, obviously this time can be used in sitting with your child in the virtual class if you can, or at least make the child independent to attend it. But it would be so, so important and critical to set the routine for the entire family. Lovely thought, Dr. Chandrasekhar. What do you think, Savita?
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Chandrasekhar, Dr. Chandrasekhar, for setting the stage. Now, I would like to talk of what happens if there's no routine. It's like shooting an arrow in the dark. A person who has no routine is mostly confused, bored, or anxious, and there's a lot of stress created. And when we know that these are the things to be done on a particular day, be it a child or a parent, we plan our day. See, I would always talk to my students and say that once you squander money, you can always earn it back. But once time is lost, it cannot be earned. A routine set helps us to avoid pilferage of time. And these kids of 3, 4, 5, or 6, these are learning the world now. So it's not just about learning the content that a teacher is going to teach me from the other side of the camera. It is about teaching so many life skills. See, there are lots of habits that children pick up. You know, making a checklist. keeping certain things ready. And I would only say that today's parents, my dear parents, I keep talking to parents like you, young parents, very anxious. Most of us young parents are doing helicopter parenting, doing everything for children. There's a mother hovering this side, father is hovering this side, and the child is not allowed to do anything independently. And that's why you're creating pressure for yourself. Oh, I can't sit with the child for the class. Why do you think that the child cannot learn without you? Have you ever given the child an opportunity to explore? And when I tell you the biggest danger is when the mother is sitting or the father is sitting and noting down everything to teach later, you're giving a signal to the child that you don't have to concentrate. I'm going to do this later. And please remember, if a trained teacher cannot do that, do you think as an untrained teacher, you're a mother, you're good for mothering, you're good for parenting, you can't be doing the teacher's role. So you are giving a message, unconsciously the child is remembering that my mother is there, my dad is there to do everything for me. When you set routines for children, they learn to be productive. Let them make efforts. See, it's not how much they learn, it's how well they put in efforts to learn. Whether your child is making efforts to understand. And I would say a good parent will not sit with the child and keep checking whether the child is learning. Create a routine and ask the child to teach you what she or he learned. Let them say even 2 words of what they learned. See, there is guaranteed result that the child is making efforts to connect. And what happens during the processes? The child develops self-discipline. See, only people who are organized in life, who have a routine, are able to finish tasks on time. I see many youngsters, I go to companies for counseling and recruitment and all that. I see people who are disorganized in their work, however brilliant they are. They suffer so much, they can't complete tasks, and they are mostly in so much of stress that they pass it on to the other team members. So when we are setting routines, I feel this is a blessing for us that we can teach them so many things like this. And what happens when children are having routines is, see, it influences their socio, emotional, and cognitive learning. See, the child is able to see, okay, the others are doing, so I need to do my work. See, there is so much of comparison. Sometimes comparison is also good when we compare ourselves with others, not when our parents compare ourselves. So the child is also trained to take responsibility for one's own work. And self-learning happens. Only if we allow our children, we will be able to see their strength, their ability. And I feel when children have routines, they will not come back to you saying, Mama, bore ho raha hai. Mama, pet dard ho raha hai. Mama, I'm feeling hungry. Because they do not know the differences between emotions. They do not know what is happening to them. When we set a routine for them, they know that they will have to go back to their work, complete the work. And the best part about setting routines for children or ourselves is when we have a checklist and we keep ticking whatever we have done, and we feel that wow moment, wow, I was able to complete it. Why do we say wow? It is the release of the hormone called, the chemical called dopamine, which gives us that thrill of wellness. And children are learning the world. So I feel this is very important. This is a very important phase for us to allow children to set their own routines, allow them to do it first, and then help them. And see, the more freedom you give to children to do their work, the more distance you keep. I would say the best style of parenting is like a lighthouse parenting. You should be available at a distance. You should only be visible to the child to reach out to you when they need. Being around all the time is definitely going to be very dangerous and detrimental for the development of the child. So I would say I completely stand by the statement that a routine is going to make the child a much better one, and then peaceful and calm. So thank you so much, Sneha.
Savita, that's such a brilliant thought that, by just setting routines, we can bring so much predictability and productivity in our lives and our children's life. Because just by attending a virtual classroom and by setting routine, we're teaching them life skills, which will be so important and critical for them to succeed in their future life. Brilliant thought, brilliant. Okay, let us now move to the next question. And the next part of the discussion is, with children being at home constantly with parents around them, parents are observing this, that they're showing constant clinginess. Okay, they're demanding for the parents' attention all the time. At times, there is poor appetite, inattentiveness, and along with managing their work, they're managing all these behavioral issues also. some parents feel that these behavioral issues are probably because of the screen time, and then they are not able to make that difference between healthy screen time, interactive screen time, and unhealthy screen time, and everything comes on to virtual learning. That because of virtual learning, because the screen is on constantly, my child is suffering from all these issues or behavioral problems. So my question is to Harsha and to Kesar. Do you really think that virtual learning adds on to these behavioral issues, or in fact, it helps solve those issues? What do you think?
So
So
here,
let's start with Harsha.
yeah, thank you, Sneha. I think here, when we read this question or when we answer this question, here our parenting skills are tested, Sneha, because when we are talking about the behavioral issues of children, it could be challenging behavior, it could be struggle, anxiety, whatever we are talking about, all boils down to our parenting style. So here as parents, when it comes to either offline learning or online learning, it's our parenting style that will count. Of course, on online learning, when virtual learning is going on, there has to be routine, as very rightly said by Savita. I totally agree to it. So if a routine is set, there will be a calm and composure atmosphere at home. I think that is number one thing that has to be kept in mind by all the parents. Now, when children are doing this online learning, it is a total change. And some children have, started their learning virtually only. They have never been to school. There are 2 years old children who have started because they understand, Mera school kahan hai, so this laptop is my school. So here parents have to have that understanding X factor in themselves, because if we drop the children physically to school also, there is a time period given to children for settling. That settling period is given, and suddenly children are given the screens, and now the teacher is talking over the virtual platform, and then the child has to understand. I mean, as parents, lot of expectations first of all has to be taken out from our diary, otherwise also not on virtual platform but even on physical platform. So your steadiness versus perfection. So here what happens, when the child is sitting with the parent at that particular time wants ki jo bhi teacher sikha rahi hai, my child has to learn everything on that particular moment itself. If the teacher is doing even drilling or explaining any concept, the mother sitting besides is also continuously explaining the child. So here I think number one is adjustment to this platform, which I think the parents should give that time. Second thing is that the internal discussion that goes with the family members or with the friend circle about the virtual learning, that is taken by the children passively. Because you know what happens most of the time, parents keep on discussing, "Arey yaar, virtual learning mein kuch hota nahi, bacche baithte nahi," this thing. The child is listening to those things. I think these are very simple things, but the child is registering those things. And now, you know what happens when the child finds that my parents are continuously talking negative about this virtual learning, I'm not going to adjust myself to this. So I think here as parents, it's very important that we ourselves first accept this platform to the fullest. And number two, join hands with the school, have that trust factor with the school. And whenever we are talking to children, allow the children to make mistakes. Hota hai 2 saal 3 saal ka bachcha baithta hai, he may lie down on the sofa, he may run and come back, that's okay. It's not that 30-40 minute lesson that is going to make an impact on the child's life. It's how I as a parent take that 30-minute or 40-minute lecture and how I behave with that child is going to affect the entire learning. So here it's very important for us as parents, number one, to release our perfection meters and start working on the steadiness. Because what I have observed is that those parents who sit with the child calmly, I find कि उनका sitting जो है वो लंबा चलता है. Those children, are present for many days. But those parents who keep on hovering as helicopters, I find कि वो थोड़े दिन के बाद the parents are also tired, the child also, मैम बैठता नहीं है, बैठता नहीं है. I think here there is a check on the parenting style. So Sneha, that's it from my side. Thank you.
So you mean to say it has nothing to do with screen. It's just about parents' parenting style. And instead of making statements about how screen time is impacting the behavioral issues of children or increasing or decreasing their issues, whatever it is, parents need to deeply introspect and understand what's going within them and how they are working with the children.
Exactly. I just want to add one more sentence here, Sneha, that pre-pandemic, I had seen parents or at social gatherings or at any place, giving children mobiles. At that time, unko problem nahi hota tha because the child took the device and was at one place. But now what happens? This device is creating a problem. Why? Because you are expecting a return out of this device. Earlier, it was entertainment. So here, jo expectation is of the parents also has to be changed, that what I'm expecting. So love towards virtual learning has to be created by the parents and has to be put in the child. The child has to absorb that thing. And I think if that partnership works, virtual learning is I think, because iske alawa kuch aur option hai hi nahi hamare paas abhi. I think I feel that this is a blessing in disguise. अगर सोचो कि virtual learning होता ही नहीं, if I think pre-30 years हम लोग अगर pandemic में होते 1930s or 1920s, सोचो बच्चे क्या कर रहे होते, हम क्या कर रहे होते. So I think take it as a blessing in disguise that we have something, at least kuch to, at least the wheel is rotating, it's at least started, moving ahead. So I think we should take it that way. Thank you, Sneha.
So true. So, yes, sir, what is your thought on this?
Yes, Neha, most of the thoughts given very positively by the panelists out here. And see, before the pandemic, we all were thinking about how to input the concept of personalized learning amongst the children so that rote learning gets minimalized rather. Now, when the time has come for the personalized learning to be adopted and the children to pick up from there, now the parents are worried that the screen time is going to hit their eyes and the mental development is going to be stunted due to this or too much of screen time. Also, my one very honest question to the parents that if, okay, I understand 1 hour or 2 hours, your children is there, the child has a mobile or a gadget in his hand. How far have you restricted yourself in switching off the screen time or minimalizing the screen time for yourself? That has not minimalized. So you are telling the child on one hand that screen time is affecting you, eyesight is being affected by the because of the screen time. And what are you doing? How much time are the parents really spending on thinking of limiting themselves from the screen time? So they have to understand that parenting is not always what you tell your child to do. Your child picks up your habits, imitates your personality. It is said by some well-known psychologists that by the time you are 40 years of age, you are 70% or 80% of what your parents' habits you already taken yourself. So what habits as parents, what are you displaying to the children? So why do you crib for that visual time, the screen time, when it is given by the school to the child? It should not be done. This is the right time, as I think one of the panelists also here spoke about, that this is the correct time for the personalized learning to take place. Now, what is personalized learning? Wherein the child watches, listens to things and understands, perceives, and then automatically whatever he has understood, he puts it down on paper or whatever material is provided to him. And I think, yes, if you leave a child to watch a class and do what the teacher is telling to do virtually, the child will pick up on personalized learning. And automatically, what the child listens, understands, and does stays with him for a long period of time. Routine is another thing. See what happens if the parent has to log in for his or her own particular work time for a later hour, let's say 10 or 11. That's the logging in time for the parent to start work from home. And the child has a class at, let's say, 8 in the morning. So at that time, I think you have 2 hours in hand where you can actually pay attention or leave the child or monitor the child when the child is taking the online class. But on the other hand, since the parent is not dressed up, the child is also not dressed up. Hence, the screens are not switched on, saying that we have network issues or whatever issues there are. So I think if the parents overcome these excuses and really accept what the virtual world is offering to them right now, they will benefit a lot. the children will develop a lot, and overall, we will be able to achieve the level of education that we want to put it in the children. That's all, Sneha.
Lovely, Kesar. So what we are coming to the conclusion or to the point is that instead of talking about the behavioral issues of children, which might be one of the cases, what we really need to do is introspect on us as parents. What are we doing? What are we giving them to model? And if we have our routine set, if we have everything in place, children will be able to model that, and screen then actually won't be an issue for children.
Exactly.
Lovely. Now I'm going to come to some quick facts which I read about. Their numbers. So a World Bank research paper published this year suggested that because schools are shut in South Asia, and specifically the studies related to South Asian countries, the schools being shut is going to affect children in such a way that the countries will be poorer by an average of $5,813 by the time, sorry, $5,813 by the time they wrap up work life. This will result in an yearly loss of earning, which will accumulate to around $300, costing the entire South Asian countries to have a loss of over $800 billion. And India will bear more than half of that loss. So schools being shut is going to affect the economy in this way in future. So India's loss in this century is being expected to be at $12.5 trillion. So if there are so many research articles which are talking about loss that countries are going to face in future, what can we as educationists suggest to parents? How can we ensure that they don't have this zero learning year? How can we bridge that gap between virtual learning or whatever ways they are learning at home and make it more effective and better so that we can cover up for this loss? So this question is to each one of you. We can start with Savita.
Yeah. Thank you, Sneha. I think it's very important that we touch upon this. I see a lot of parents, having this anxiety about, ma'am, my child has lost 1 year, and what do I do to now, give back what is lost? The first thing I would say is, what's gone is gone. And with children, you can't again push things into their head and make life worse for them, because they have to learn what is happening today in class. And if you as parents try to bridge the gap, you're only going to cause more damage to the child. And there's nothing much the child has lost. Probably, the child lost an year, and it's not the content that we should look at. It's not the information that the child has lost which we should try to give back. I see so many parents loading information onto children. See, information is not education. Knowing how to use the information is education. So, as parents, we are more than teaching children, making them mug up things and giving them so much of information. If you can create a culture of learning at home. I see so many parents asking the child to go and sit and attend a virtual class. And what are they doing? They're watching a movie. They're having a nice time, playing cards or whatever. And how would you expect a child to go and sit and focus on something coming from the other end? I feel this is the biggest mistakes we as families commit. See, the child will not listen to what I say, but the child will pick up from me what I do. So are we creating a culture of learning at home? Are we discussing learning? Are we even appreciating each other for learning? See, when we appreciate people for earning, if the husband comes and says, I made $1 lakh more this month, we all appreciate. But do we even question, what did you learn today? Did we even, do we even have conversations around that? As Harsha rightly said, when we are demeaning virtual learning all the time, what is that after all going and sitting there? Your teacher won't even know whether you're sitting there. See, we are giving children the ideas to, play foul games with the teacher. In fact, they try to do their best. So I would only say that the language of the parents, the language of the family makes the child do what he or she does. Now, there's so much impact. I would just like to say, an elephant which is tied outside a temple, when you look at that, there's a rope tied. Don't you think such a huge elephant can break itself free? Why is it not able to do? It's because when it was a calf, the mahout kept constantly saying, you can't break yourself free. The rope is very strong. And the calf grows, keeping that in mind. And even when it becomes a huge elephant, it will not even attempt to do that. See, what we speak to children as parents may have has such an impact on children. So the more the parents start focusing on appreciating learning, engaging children in learning, and more importantly, allowing them to be independent learners. Try beta, whatever you learn. It's okay. Good. You made an effort. That's very important. So the language we speak is going to make the child become independent learners. So that's all from my side, Sneha.
So it actually touched me as a parent as well. It is so critical and important that we work on our language, because that it is not about what you say or what you do with children. It's about how they feel eventually, and that stays with them for a lifetime. And what we as parents can do is definitely work on a language so that we can make them feel better and they're encouraged to continue with the learning. And the most important part that I liked about is have that culture of learning at home. Discuss about what you learned. That can probably help bridge that gap between the school and the home environment. Superb thought. Chandrasekhar, what is your take on how we can bridge this gap?
So here I want to focus more from the perspective of the parent. Forget about us being educators and running schools and institutions. That's all fine. And obviously, we all want our students to attend our classes, and we want them to be switching on their videos, and we want them to be trim and prom in front of the camera. That's fine. So let's give that a break and come back to the mind of a parent. Now, the way I look at it, awareness is the key. And when I say awareness, what I really want to convey is, let me ask the parents this question, or let parents ask themselves this question. Okay, assume that pandemic is over, everything is fine, we have got the herd immunity, there is no scare of infection and everything. What is going to happen to schools? What is going to happen to your children? How is learning happening? If you think, even for a second, that everything will go back to schools, everything will come back to the normalcy where children will come and sit from morning to evening, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen, because the habits have already changed, and now hybrid learning is here to stay. You may call it flipped learning, you may call it synchronous, asynchronous, you may call it online, virtual school, whatever you want to call it. But there is going to be an element of technology integrated learning in our lives, in our children's lives, right? Now, if that awareness comes to the parents, then the way they look at this entire online learning will change. Let me give you a quick example from our common life. I mean, we all travel. At least we used to travel in the pre-COVID world. Now, you don't carry your entire setup wherever you go. You know that I'm going to be there for a few days, maybe a couple of days or few days, and then I'm going to come back. So you will make some adjustments, some compromise, and fit your luggage bag, and then you travel there. Today, when you're shifting, so I'm shifting from Hyderabad to Bangalore, I will carry everything because I know that I'm not going to come back to Hyderabad at least for some time. Now, this is the attitude we need to have. Today, many parents are thinking we are still on a guest tour. We are here with our simple bags. No, you are already shifted from post-COVID. I mean, from pre-COVID to post-COVID, you are shifting to another world. So you need to carry the entire life along with you. Once that awareness comes, then all what we are discussing will start to make sense. As long as I think I'm a guest here, I'm going to go back to my routine, so this bag is only going to be here for next few days, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. And this is applicable even to me. This is applicable to me as a parent, as a individual. Forget about me being an educator. And this is what is important. So my question is, how many teachers, how many school owners are still hoping that things will be going back to normal once COVID is over? No. Because as they say, if you don't believe in it, you can't influence others about it. Today, if I again say, if teachers and schools are not able to influence the parents, is because some of us still believe that everything is going to go back to normal. It's not going to happen. So as long as, and the faster the parents get hold of this, I think things are going to change. And I completely agree with Dr. Savita. Children have already understood this. Children are already there. They don't want to have a doubt in their mind that, okay, I'm going to go back and again, green board, chalk piece, all that will happen. No, children are going to come back to school and say, when it could have happened online, why did you call me here? Of course, children understand that, I can play in the playground, I can eat in the cafeteria, I can network with my friends or have some fun with my people in the corridors. All that children understand. But when it comes to learning, it's like watching a cricket match. I am more comfortable sitting in my room at the comfort of my couch. I can watch the close-up angle. I can see the entire thing so closely, which I can never experience in a stadium with 30, 40, 50,000 people. So I will still go to the stadium for the fun of it, but to enjoy the match, I will still prefer my digital TV. So same will happen to education, where children, if they want to learn something meaningful and interact with the teacher, they prefer the digital form because it's one-on-one and it is more personalized. But if they want to get their experience, then they come to school. So awareness is the key. This is my opinion.
Superb thought. I think you've summed it up by saying, accept this new normal. Like, instead of hoping and wishing that things will come back to normal, it is so critical for everybody, right? From school leaders, educators, and parents to accept this new normal and adapt to this new normal. Lovely thought. Kesar, what is your take on this?
Well, Sneha, I think step by step, taking things one by one is what is required here. Right now, if we think that after a year we are going to go back to schools and everything is going to be normal and then I'll carry on my life as I was doing earlier, is actually very bad. Parents took 1.5 years, almost 1 year, to adjust to the fact that virtual learning is here. When we say that change is constant, we do say it, but our mind doesn't accept it as soon as it is said. So if these parents only would have accepted it 1 year back, that yes, virtual learning is going to stay here for a long time, there would have been less hassles, there would have been more development, there would have been more innovations, the children would have learned more, parents would have had less frustrations. I think teachers have already grown and evolved into more technologically equipped people, which this particular community lacked a lot before the COVID era, and we all know it. The teacher community, mostly majority, they still believed in like maintaining records and not taking things on drive, which has all happened. And now they themselves don't want to go back to maintaining records on hard paper because they are so used to like drives and so many like Padlet and Wakelet and as it goes. So similarly, yes, the virtual learning is here to stay. Accept it. Take things normally and calmly. And see, one thing has happened in this pandemic, and that is most of us have stopped watching or even thinking of going to cinema halls to watch movies. I, for one, is a severe, movie addict. And I'm not even in touch with which movie is released this particular week. Or when is the next movie by any of the Bollywood people going to be released, or the Hollywood movies are going to come in. I'm not even in touch. It's totally out of my mind. So as it is said, out of sight, out of mind. So you never know what turn the schooling will take in the coming year. Yes, we are focusing that by October, the things might return to normal and the senior students will return to school, probably by December, middle schoolers or something like that. But the fact remains that the hybrid model of learning is here to stay for a long time. So yes, accept it, let's accept it, and let's do the best with it. Thank you.
So the case of the moment you said that parents have taken so much of time to accept this fact and 1.5 years is already lost, I actually got that anxiety thinking, oh my God, so many parents have already wasted that 1.5 years out of their lives. But the thought that came to my mind was, it's better late than never, right? Now is the way to go. Even if you have lost that 1.5 years, fine, forget it. It's a clean slate now. Start as soon as possible because hybrid learning is here to stay, like you said.
Sneha, as it is, it's a very common thought, saying, quotation in the early childhood development ages. The one quote says that a child is not raised by a family, it is actually raised by a village. Okay, and it holds a lot of value. So a child is not only groomed by the family, the entire environment goes into developing a child into an adult. Similarly, it is also said that do it right for the first time with these little children, rather than doing things or correcting things later on in their lives. So when it comes to emotional development, physical development, developing skills, intelligence, whatever, uh, teach them the right thing the first time itself. It will save you a lot of trouble. That's it. I think the similar thing applies here.
Totally. It is easy to repair children than repair broken men later in life.
Yes.
So true, so true. And I so agree with what you're saying. It's not only about parents, but the entire community helps raise a child. So teachers play such a critical and important role in a child's life. And parents, most of the parents have realized that. But yes, there are few parents who think that they can double up as educators. Why do you need school? Why do you need virtual learning? ABC to sikhate hain, wo to hum log bhi karwa sakte. But that age appropriateness of the activity, the way they engage the child, cannot be replaced because they know it best. They know how repetition works, how to conduct a classroom, how to keep the engagement of the children intact. So I agree with what you're saying. It takes
The
a
mingling of the children offline or mingling with their online peers, both is impacting the children and bringing about the development. Parents should not forget this.
Totally. Harsha, what is your take?
So Sneha, here I'll sum up as my fellow mates said, first number one point is accept this new normal. And I have created an acronym for this new word. I think the key words, what all my fellow mates, said here is N, natural, because change is very much natural. We have to navigate. So N stands for two things, natural and navigation. E, empowering ourselves. And W, well-balanced behavior. I think if these three things, if we are able to do in ourselves, definitely it will replicate in our children and things will be very, very smooth. Thank you, Sneha. Thank you so much.
Harsha, I love your acronyms all the time. The way you put it, and it stays with you. Like the new word is going to stay with everybody, and I think that's wonderful. Chandrasekhar, you were saying something?
I was just applauding for the acronym. That's it.
Yeah, totally, totally. So stay with the new normal. Lovely. Is there any final takeaway that you want to tell to our audience? I know we are at 7 o'clock, but just that one statement that you want to tell the parents, which can be their takeaway for the entire session today. We can start with Savita.
I would only say, most importantly than education or anything else, it's the attitude that determines the quality of life of a child. So let's ensure that the family of the attitude of a family is consciously shaped in our families, so that our children don't have to be raised by us. They grow naturally. So let's be gardeners, allowing our children to grow naturally and to their fullest potential. Thank you.
Super. Chandrasekhar.
I think I'll use the acronym NEW. I think that's the biggest giveaway and takeaway from this session. So I'll stay with that. Thank you.
Lovely. Kesar.
It's just live in the present, believe in the present. The future will be yours.
Kesar, I didn't get you. Can you repeat?
I said live in the present, believe in the present. The future will definitely be yours.
Super. Harsha?
I think the biggest takeaway that I want the parents to take is that go with the flow. Online hai to online enjoy karo, virtual, physical hoga to physical, hybrid hoga to hybrid. Jo bhi hai, go with the flow. I think that is the best tip that I can give. Thank you so much, Sneha.
Super, super. At such an amazing time discussing about this relevant topic. And I'm so sure that parents have had so many takeaways from this entire session. Thank you so much for taking that one precious hour from your busy schedules. I'm sure all the parents have been benefited and enlightened through this. Even I am. Thank you so much. Thank you, Brainfeed, for holding this wonderful panel discussion in association with Online Parenting Summit. If, as parents, you've benefited through this panel discussion, there is much more to come. Please enroll and register for the Online Parenting Summit. It's absolutely free and it is online. Just go with the flow and become a better version of yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening to all.